Hello and welcome to Age of Geek Media. I'm Robert.
I'm Collin.
I'm Marlee.
And I'm Adam.
This week
never
we have
mind.
our guest. Oh, we have our guest Adam McDonald.
Wow.
Just don't let us introduce you. It's fine.
I
jump
just used
on
to
in.
doing my own stuff where I just introduce myself. So
He's showing some initiatives. He's being a go-getter. It's great.
He needs no introduction. He's like, I got this.
He's like, yeah, it's okay. I got this. I'm good. I can do my own stuff. I got my own press coverage.
But still,
thank you very much.
Tell us where you're from and what you do, Adam.
So I am actually over at Big Shiny Robot as their film critic, also on Big Movie Mouth Off as their film critic, and also president of the Utah Film Critic Association. So
Yay.
Hashtag kind of a big deal.
I'm like the cat herder, so I'm the one. We're actually in award season right now, so we're getting tons and tons of movies on DVD and screener links. So it's just like cram season for your finals at your college. So it's just nonstop trying to catch everything that's out there. So
All I heard was beer, beer, beer.
No. I'm fancy. We have vodka. So
I'm thinking poor college students. I'm sorry.
Oh, I see.
Well, thank you for joining us. And tonight we're going to be talking about the Marvels, but really quick, we're going to do a couple of bits of geeky news, including a few weeks ago we talked about the fact that they're bringing back Boo Buckets for Halloween at McDonald's. And now, because all of us are kids of a certain age, they have brought back adult-sized Happy Meals.
Yay!
That's right.
Beautiful.
So you can either get, it's now called a Kerwin Frost box, but you can get either a 10-piece McNuggets or a Big Mac with fries and a soft drink. And yes, you get a toy.
Yes.
I love it.
It's
I love it.
one of
great
5
toy.
special little McNugget Buddy toys. So rush to your local McDonald's and relive a little part of your childhood there. We also got a new trailer for Godzilla vs. Kong, The New Empire, which is the sequel to the legendary Monsterverse or the Monarchverse, if you're watching anything on Apple TV, which if you're not watching it, watch it. Good show.
It's on my list.
I went and saw Godzilla -1 today.
Oh,
So
how was
this
that?
afternoon. It was really good. It's kind of funny watching that and then also watching the trailer for the new Godzilla, because I think they spent the same amount of money on the trailer as they did on the entire Godzilla -1 movie. But yeah, they could definitely. It's like Robert Rodriguez budget on a Godzilla movie, but it's fantastic. It looks great. It's emotional. It's very reminiscent of Jaws in a lot of ways. But yeah, if you get a chance to go check it out, it's one of the better Godzilla movies I've seen. So,
Oh, all right.
Sweet.
Well, good to know. But this one, apparently, we've had the big superhero fights. Now we get Super Kaiju team up, is what it sounds like in this one. Against a new Kong and Godzilla team up against a new enemy. A new combatant has entered the arena. So there's that. Will be coming to theaters this coming spring. And as it is award season, as Adam mentioned, and I believe there's a wee bit of press about Spider-Man Across the Universe this year. The complete script for the movie is available online now from Deadline. 158-page script in their Read the Screenplay series. It's been added recently, so you can read that. And the third Spider-Verse film was scheduled to release in March, but it's nowhere on the schedule now.
Aw.
It is in limbo, as there were many production issues that went on behind the scenes with the second movie. Actually, the first movie, they patched those up enough to make the second movie, and they're just like, we can't do this anymore. So hopefully we won't have to wait too long to see when that movie comes out, but that's where we are right now. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah.
It's okay.
Fight it out.
Ladies
Fight
first.
it out. Go.
Ladies first.
Thank you. I will. No fight needed. We're good.
Aw.
Well, speaking of trailers, like I saw a couple trailers pop up for some things. The House of the Dragon season 2. We got a trailer for that one. If you are a Game of Thrones fan, or you haven't really gotten into Game of Thrones and you've only watched House of Dragon, like seriously, like I feel like it's better than Game of Thrones. First season was so good, and so I'm really excited for season 2. I'm glad that they are keeping that up. And then also The Boys season 4 trailer also dropped, and it looks crazier and bloodier as ever. And I just don't know how they could top what they do in that show, but somehow they do. And here we go. We're getting all of these trailers and promotions, especially where we haven't been able to see a lot of that over the last few months because of all the strikes and everything. And so it's fun to get all of that hype going again.
Cool.
All right. And then Dave Filoni, good old Lucasfilm, ended up promoting him to Chief Creative Officer, which is absolutely fantastic. I think the Star Wars universe is in much better hands with him, and hopefully how do I say this lightly? Hopefully Kathleen Kennedy does not help him screw it up.
I think that's probably about as best you could have put it. So they don't snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, basically.
Exactly.
Right.
And then also season 5 of Fortnite just dropped. And they have all sorts of things they're doing. They basically brought in all their properties and put them into one game. And so you've got Rocket League jumping in, and you're able to do certain things through that. They've got a Lego piece now,
And that one,
where
I
you
think
can
doesn't the
do
Lego
Lego
one drop?
building.
Doesn't the Lego one open up on the 7th?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, on the 7th. And then I think it's on the 15th. They're basically introducing like a rock band kind of mode. So I don't know what's going on, but they're just throwing things in everywhere, and we'll kind of see where it lands. I did play it a little bit today and was actually impressed with the graphics enhancements that they did. I wish Overwatch would have adopted what Fortnite did instead of just calling it like Overwatch 2. It should have just been Overwatch, but we've added some things, right? Because even with that, like, yeah, minor graphic enhancements for Overwatch 2 and a couple apps or a couple maps were added. Meanwhile, with Fortnite, it's just Fortnite. It's a new season.
So
they're updating some things.
Question about that, Colin, because I picked up Fortnite again a couple weeks ago, and it was from like the OG chapter.
Yep.
And it was like almost like a completely different game because it was like slower and just like a little bit different. And so is this update you're talking about? This is different than that. Like, have they gone away from the OG thing and now they're back to, I guess, normal, quote unquote?
Not normal. Like it's all different maps. It's all different guns. Like all the weapons have changed at this point.
I mean, like they've gone back, like because obviously they were going season, and then they're like, oh, let's do OG, and now they're like back.
Yeah, they basically did the OG map so that there was less maintenance to be done, so that they didn't have to focus on patches. They just focused on the actual gameplay, so they could put dev effort somewhere else.
Okay. So the OG stuff is done, though.
Yeah, that's all done. The meteor that was counting down hit and blew up everything, and now it's a new land.
And isn't Eminem there now?
Yes, Eminem's skin released. Pretty great.
Fortnite. Let's get on and play again.
The guy
soon.
from Family Guy is in it, Peter Griffin, but he's like a macho Peter Griffin, and he's like a random boss in the game.
Oh my gosh.
So I have never ever played Fortnite, so I have no clue what you're talking about right now.
You should totally join us for Fortnite sometime.
I completely knocked it for the longest time.
Oh, same.
And then we all decided, hey, let's just play a couple rounds and see how it goes. And we got addicted, and we've been playing it for like the last year and a half now.
Well, and we play zero build mode, to be specific.
Yeah,
the building part of Fortnite, in my opinion, is not fun. We just like the
Ooh.
battle royale part of it. So that's what we have been playing. But yeah, you should play with us sometime. It's so fun.
So is it like when you say building mode, is that like Minecraft meets like Counter-Strike?
Battle royale. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's in battle royale, so you're quickly building like towers and other
okay.
things to
Shelters,
try
Shelters,
to
etc.
You're building
try to
forts.
protect yourself. Yep.
Forts in the night.
It's nighttime. I mean, it's really not, but yes.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
all
mean,
you
totally
got.
play was.
Yeah.
I'm horrible at it, so you don't really have to worry about competition for me. I am.
Oh, you'll still
atrocious
kick
at
my
it.
butt. I can almost guarantee you because I'm not good at those
No,
kinds of
no,
games.
no. Adam, we'd all be on the same team. You can do a squad.
You
So we
still
would
find a way
all-
to kick my butt.
All four of us can be on a team. It'll be
there's
great.
a way to kill your allies. I've had some real jerks do that to me before.
Don't look at me.
It wasn't you. You just
Okay.
run for the crown as quick as you can
I mean, everyone does. That's the point.
while mid battle.
Fine.
Shiny.
You guys can
Running
handle
away from your
yourselves.
allies.
You just let me just do my thing. It's fine.
Fine, ain't no thing. Oh, geez.
My husband and our other friend Blake will play with us every now and then too, and those guys like to pick on me, and so I'm like, hey, fine, I'm just gonna go get the crown. Screw you guys.
Every person for themselves.
No, every crown for themselves.
Sorry.
There you go.
Well, I am a princess, so that means the crown's mine.
No, well, as long as
Crown
there's
fight.
there is more than one, so you can get your own crown.
As long as it's the prettiest crown.
They're all the same, but yes. Anyway,
Oh my gosh.
moving
Well,
on.
Speaking of crowns, we'll use that as a segue and go from Fortnite to Princess Sparkle Fists and talk about The Marvels.
Yay!
Collin, you tilted your head like you've never heard Captain Marvel referred to as Princess Sparkle Fists.
I don't recall ever hearing that.
It is a nickname that she is given, and I can't remember who gave it to her in the comics. So she's referred to as interchangeably Princess Sparkle Fists or the Boss of Space.
Okay.
The boss of space. I
Boss
like
of Space.
that.
When she was
I like that.
basically in one of her solo titles, she was the head of a repurposed Alpha Flight space station, which would be the same thing as like Saber Station in this movie. And she was the head of that operation and it became known as the Boss of Space. I think it may have been a self-given title if I remember correctly.
Good. I like it.
and see, I'll be completely honest. It's kind of on hiatus right now, but I also do Funny Books and Firewater podcast where we review graphic novels, and a lot of the stuff we do is all indie, so I don't read that much Marvel or DC even. So like the Sparkle Fist thing, I'm like, I've never heard of that, so I don't know even where. I mean, it makes sense. It works for her character and her punching things, but
And she was punch heavy at this point. But yeah, if you look it up, Princess Sparkle Fist, it'll come up with Captain Marvel.
I love it.
But yeah, so now we get a sequel to not only Captain Marvel, but also indirectly WandaVision and very directly Miss Marvel from the MCU and the Disney Plus series. And it kind of picks up directly at the end of the Miss Marvel series, and you're thrown into a rather chaotic situation in this movie where, for some reason, Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel are switching places. Unexplained at that time in the story.
Yeah, it
Yes.
seemed to be like whenever they used their powers or abilities, then all of a sudden they switched, and you're like, wait, what? Brie Larson's all of a sudden in this little New Jersey home with Kamala's family, and they're all like, who's this blonde woman in our house?
And, I appreciated the fact that they gave a little bit more of the fish out of water for Captain Marvel, popping into Kamala's house, seeing pictures of her everywhere, and just freaking right out like, nope, not doing this.
nope.
Cannot do this.
Kid? No.
The fan
Brenda
art,
Fangirl?
the posters, the notes, everything.
Everything.
It was
Just sort of like
all there.
checking right out of this.
Well, I mean, if you
Well,
think
the
about it, She has no clue who Kamala Khan is. So it'd be like all of a sudden you switch places and you're like in Buffalo Bills, like a little like hideaway. You're like, what is going on? Like, I have no clue.
But we also find that Monica Rambeau, agent of Saber, is also entangled with their powers. And I think the second switch we see is her and Kamala. And that's a little disconcerting for Monica. Whereas Kamala's like, you're Nick Fury. Is this an Avengers test? Am I in? Did I pass? And she totally fangirls.
I love her.
Her enthusiasm as not just a fledgling superhero, but just I'm meeting all these cool people that I'd never thought that I'd have a chance to interact with. And just watching her go through those emotional, wild swings was quite fun.
Well, and it's also very, very real because, I mean, herself has been such a fangirl for so long. And so jumping in and meeting all these people for the first time and acting with them, like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those dream come true kind of situations. But we also get to see on the other side of the equation, Kamala's family dealing with who are all these people just showing up at our house at random. And where's my daughter?
And destroying their house.
And kind of destroying their house.
A little bit.
Who's going to pay for that?
I mean, the flirkin didn't really help.
No. Well, actually, no, it did for a minute. Then it didn't.
Yeah.
Then it was just eating everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm assuming
I'm going to say that Shield or Saber is going to pay for it.
They better.
Yeah.
Also,
without
I guess this is
anything
also
away. Oh,
pardon me.
Good. I'll say without giving anything away, this movie has the best use of the song "Memory" for the musical Cats, and I'm saying that it's even better than the way it's used in the musical Cats. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
That's fair. But it was also, I guess, this is also indirectly a follow-up to the summer's kind of lackluster Secret Invasion as well, because now we have a Nick Fury who's more of the Nick Fury that we're used to seeing, a little more behind the scenes in control of what's going on, but not as lost as he was in Secret Invasion.
Yeah.
And seeming to enjoy being back in the superhero secret agent game. But he also, when he's dealing with world building threats or world threatening entities, he's not really had to deal with a 16-year-old girl's mom. With Kamala's mom. And some of those interactions were the most funny and endearing of him trying to play the straight man basically and keep calm and be the level head, and everything around him is just going straight to hell.
He actually got some really funny lines. Like there's a moment I don't want to spoil, but
no, we're doing spoils.
You
made full spoils in this.
So it's the part where Kamala's falling, and then she switches places with Captain Marvel, and then Captain Marvel just smashes into the ground, and he's like, "Oh, cool, it's Carol." I lost my mind. I laughed for 2 minutes straight and don't remember that part of the movie because I thought it was so hilarious.
Well, not long after that, while Kamala's falling and he's got to send Monica after her, and she's not flown yet. She's trying to learn how to fly. And he's like, come on, up. Black girl magic, let's go. And I'm just like, did they really put that in there? They just did.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like Nick Fury was more himself in this movie, in this role. And it's hard to know too. I mean, unless you guys already know the answer to this, but was this movie filmed before or after Secret Invasion was filmed? Because maybe that has taken into account some of it as well. But given when everything was released, it was Secret Invasion first, then the Marvels, for us, the audience. And so this is what we know.
On the timeline,
I'm just curious.
It was always that order.
Okay.
And it would make sense because they've been building Saber since I forget the order. The second Spider-Man movie, I believe, Far From Home.
Mhm.
where Talos was impersonating Nick Fury for that entire movie.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Because at the end you see Nick Fury on the space station station, and he's like, "Has anybody seen my shoes?" And just disappears. So you know that he's been off his game for a while, and he comes back in Secret Invasion, and he's totally not the Nick Fury we know or knew at least.
Yep.
So it looks like he's back in the game. He's back to being the Nick Fury that we remember to some degree. You know, the man pulling all the strings, or trying to, as everything is
I
being
think he's
chaotic.
trying to grasp things again. I don't know that he's fully there and steps ahead of people.
Oh
at
well,
this
no, he's
point.
not going to be steps ahead of people because he's lost that network that he had
Yeah.
that kept him there. So now he's I would be curious to see how they play this because they never really showed it in Secret Invasion. But what is his status within the echelons of government and international politics?
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming a lot of people have a lot of questions about what happened with him, or apparently to him, during Secret Invasion. But he's, apparently running this space station, so things have to be okay-ish.
I mean, I'll be the first to admit, like, I fell out of Secret Invasion. Like, it just didn't hook me. I think I got like 3 episodes in, and I just kind of like, and again, it's part of being busy and everything else I do in my life. Like, I only have so much time to choose what I want to watch. But I don't know. Did it end? Was the journey of Secret Invasion, was the destination worth the journey? I guess is what I'm asking.
It depends on who you ask. Now,
Yeah.
for me
You
as a Nick
go back
Fury
and
fan,
listen to our episode on it that we did a few weeks
yeah,
back.
it was a polarizing series, honestly, because it was kind of all over the place, not sure what it wanted to be, and you could tell that it was Marvel's way of answering why was Fury so out all over the place ever since Endgame, when you did see him. And for me, it was how Fury got his groove back, basically. But it was unbalanced, I think would be a good way to describe it.
Well, and I think too, at least in my opinion, I don't think it was the Secret Invasion show that we maybe wanted or needed.
That 98% of the Marvel populace wanted to see.
Yeah, because like I feel like there were definitely some good moments, in the show throughout the whole series, but like there were just certain things that fell flat, or it was just different than what I think a lot of people expected. And because like for me, I would have loved to have seen a Secret Invasion show that was more of like a, hey, let's take you back, or even in a series of like flashbacks or something, and show you where different Skrulls have been impersonating people throughout what in the MCU.
Yeah.
And like different moments of time and stuff. Like I would have loved to seen more of like that behind the scenes, like, oh, that person was a Skrull and you didn't even know. Like, but and it just wasn't that at all. But no, I think for the most part, yeah, like what Robert said, like it was definitely like it was a different side. Well, not side, but it was a good chance for us to see like what Nick Fury's been up to, or kind of maybe what he's going through a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's not,
oh,
go ahead.
Oh, I love Nick Fury. I think he's an amazing character, and I'm glad
Mhm.
they've kind of taken the way Sam Jackson portrays him, and obviously, well, they changed his race in the comic books, which, because I think Sam Jackson is Nick Fury the same way that RDJ is Tony Stark, and I love everything they've done with him in the movies, but I just don't know what it was that just didn't grab me. Like, I think I got to the scene where you find out who his wife really is, and that was kind of the last, and it should have just hooked me and got me in there, because I'm like, oh, this is cool, and then it didn't work for me. So I do want to go back and finish it, because I've seen everything else they've done, so I may as well go back and watch that. But I don't know, it just seemed like it wasn't worth the investment at the time. So
I will go so far as to say that, did it stick the landing? No. Did it move the needle? A little. You may wind up with a few more questions than you started with. And I would be curious to hear your take on it if you do finish the last 3 episodes.
Well, and I like that. I like things that end with kind of like the more questions have been left unanswered, or maybe you get some more. Like, loose threads are awesome. Loose threads are so nice, because then you have more places to go with it. But yeah, I'll wrap it up. So give me a month and I'll be done with movies. I can actually like do things I enjoy again. So
Give you a
Well-
month. Doesn't that put you into Sundance season?
we actually changed everything so that we vote the first week of January, and I'm not doing Sundance this year because it's my dad's 80th birthday, and I'm hoping to go to California to see
Fair
how
enough.
he's. So yeah.
All right.
Well, the thing about the Marvels though is that you really didn't need to like have seen Secret Invasion to
True.
watch this movie, but like leading up to when the Marvels was releasing, I had some different friends reach out to me because like I watch all the Marvel stuff, and so they're like, I didn't watch WandaVision. Do I need to watch WandaVision before I see the Marvels? Do I need to watch Ms. Marvel? Yeah, and so like it was just kind of opened up the discussion, and I thought it was definitely interesting to talk to friends about it and everything. I always tell people, I'm like, you really should watch it all because it all really does link together, and it's also just kind of fun to see where how everything happens, whether it connects or not. But yeah, I'm definitely like on team. Yeah, you should watch WandaVision and Ms. Marvel before seeing the Marvels. I don't know what your guys' opinions are on that.
No, I would agree, especially with Miss Marvel because of the flashing forward a little bit in the movie. The power band that that Dar-Ben is looking for is the second band that Kamala's grandmother had. So getting to see, knowing where the other band came from, not just it mysteriously showed up with some 16-year-old kid, on Earth, half a galaxy away.
Yeah.
Like you do. So
Like you do. But we got to see one of the things that I did appreciate that the movie did, or a couple of the things. One is when you finally get all three of the Marvels in one room together, or in a spaceship together, and they're actually talking. You still have Kamala, who has not quite gotten over that whole fangirl aspect of Carol Danvers just standing 3 feet in front of me, and she's treating her more like this mythical object than just a person standing there in front of her talking to her. But by the same token, you also have Monica, who's like, I don't know how to talk to you right now, because she's got a wee bit of pent up frustration with respect to
family issues.
Yeah,
Just
they
a
have
few.
a personal connection.
and as to tie up the triangle, watching it as Kamala, who's built up this relationship with Carol in her head, with the first time that Monica goes, Aunt Carol, and she's like, wait, did you just call her Aunt Carol? And watching her parse that and understand that they've got a relationship that she knows nothing about. And I think that they played the three sides of that very well, with Carol trying to balance hero worship versus family obligation, Monica dealing with who's the new kid that's untested versus we've got to talk about a few things, and Kamala just being like all doughy-eyed, fangirl.
Here for the ride.
Fangirl
There for the
feeling special because she's got a file on herself.
Oh my gosh.
And a superhero team up. I mean, what more could any 16-year-old kid want?
Oh yeah.
And I love how she was trying to come up with like official names for Monica, and like they never landed on one though, which I was kind of disappointed with. What are her does she have more than one name in the comics, or does she only really
Yes.
have what are the
No,
names?
she-
Robert, I know you know.
So she started with Captain Marvel, then went to Spectrum, then Spectrum Photon. Photon's where she is
Photon.
now.
Okay, I'm like Photon I thought that's what she was, but again, they didn't even do much more with it in the movie. I'm like, are they gonna land on something? Like, where are we going with this?
Yeah, so she had the Captain Marvel title before Carol officially adopted it in the 616 universe. And then there was a fight with one of Marvel's children who claimed the title, and then Carol came back. She claimed the title. There was Moondragon claimed the title for a while. So there's been another number of other people. No, sorry, not Moondragon. Phyla-Vell claimed the title. So like 3 other people between Monica and Carol going, it's mine. I'm taking it. So
yeah, the one thing I just love so much about this is that Kamala Khan is just utterly the heart and soul of this movie. It goes, we've talked about the fact that she's there. She's got the idol worship thing. She's just aghast that she gets to hang out with her, this person she's always looked up to. And she has a joy in the sense that a lot of times in the comics and sometimes in movies is that these superpowers are treated as both a gift and a curse because, great power, great responsibility, everything else. And she learns that, but she still likes being a superhero. And she gets to kind of have that character arc also, as far as like, be careful when you meet your heroes because they are human. And she learns that firsthand with some of the things that Captain Marvel did that actually is causing everything going on with her actions with the Supreme Intelligence back in the first movie. So she gets to develop and grow, but it's never done in that like depressing Batman type way where you have to go through like the rigors of like the 9 levels of hell to get there. Like, no, she loves what she's doing. She gets to be with people she looks up to, but she also gets that sobering realization that your heroes aren't perfect. They can still be heroes and they can still do great things and you can still look up to them, but you also have to understand that they're just as human as you are. And I thought that was a really cool arc for her. And she still loves it. She still gets to be like, yeah, I'm cool. I get all these powers, but she grows. And I love the actress who plays what's her name again? It's
Iman
Vellani.
Iman Vellani. There we go. Yeah.
And I had it pulled up a second ago, and I just changed screens. I love how people interviewing her asking like, "Hey, how do you feel the movie didn't do well?" And she's like, "I don't care. It's not my fault it didn't do well." Like she's, I'm excited to see where she's going to go with the Marvel Universe, and I will watch anything she's in because she's fantastic. So I can't wait to see her again, either on the big or small screen because she is amazing.
Well, one other thing with Kamala's arc is she also learned that part of being a hero is accepting you can't save everyone. And that's a huge lesson. And that during the attack on the Skrull colony, when they have to leave people behind, and she's like, but, and they're like, we can only take this so many people and make it out of here alive ourselves. And watching that kind of crush her just a little, that realization of, we have all these powers, we can do all these things, but we can't save everybody. But that also takes us to a point that Marlee made going back to Secret Invasion about where's New Asgard and all of this, and if they're taking in people, why don't they take in some Skrulls? We finally get to see Tessa Thompson's King Valkyrie show up and be like, oh hey, you rang?
I loved that. I loved that, like a cameo. Is that what we would call it?
Yeah.
I loved that. I thought that was great. To acknowledge, like, hey, yeah, there's this whole other group of people who've gone through something very similar themselves. They lost their planet, and you know what? I think they have room, to help them and to be able to support them.
Which is funny because we just went through Secret Invasion. Earth has failed to place them on their own planet. So what? The answer is, hey, let's bring more Skrulls and cause more chaos to Earth.
But they're going to but they're going to New Asgard. They don't really touch New Asgard.
But they're not going to all stay in New Asgard, right?
Yeah, they can.
They can, or they can go and create more chaos because now you've got a frustrated leader at Miss Marvel, or not Miss Marvel, at
Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel, thank you, because all their people just got squished by a planet, and it was all caused by her, one way or another.
Yeah. Directly, indirectly, yeah.
Pretty directly.
Blame in there somewhere.
We don't talk about that.
Well, and like that's the other interesting aspect of this whole movie too is Carol's journey. she's not just this person that has like these incredible superpowers. Like she is probably the most, or one of the most powerful beings. And and besides that, from what we've seen, there's not been like, I don't want to say she doesn't have personality, but like there's not really been much more than that. And obviously, like in the first movie, Captain Marvel, like her whole thing was like, well, I'm trying to like regain my memories and find out who I am and all of that. But then other than that, like we haven't really been able to see much more from her on like a personal level until this movie. And we also find out that like, even though she is like a very powerful person, that she also has consequences to her decisions and her actions. And and I think a lot of it too is she doesn't realize, or maybe she chose to ignore, maybe and especially with Hala, is that the name of the city
Maria?
or planet?
Yeah.
Oh,
That
Hala,
she was
yeah.
at? Yeah, that I know she also had like her own personal feelings that went on there, and so she kind of just like left them in the dust, even though there were plenty of people there that had nothing to do with what happened to her. And she just kind of was like, okay, bye, I destroyed your planet, but bye. And then to then later find out the consequences of that, and how all that crap, what is her name?
Darben.
Yes.
The bad guy,
Yeah. That like all Darben was doing was like, I mean, not to say that her actions weren't always the most good, but she was also just trying to save her own people as well.
So an interesting parallel there is Darben was to this movie what Michael Shannon's General Zod was to Man of Steel. I am acting in the best interests of my people, and I don't care what I have to do to save my people at the expense of anyone else.
Yep.
My job is to see the safety, security, and advancement of my people, period. And and it was also, she wasn't, fortunately, and I don't think Zod was in that movie either, but Darben was not a cookie cutter, just mustache twirling villain. She had motivations like, my planet is dying because of the actions of this person. I will move whatever heaven or hell I have to save my people. And, if it hurts someone else and they happen to be a Skrull, oh well.
Oh well.
I mean, I did identify with that because I think any one of us would, if in a situation where we had to do whatever it took to save our loved ones or our families or our kids, whatever you have, you would do anything. I mean, I don't think there's anyone who would, and I don't have kids, but I have people like, I love like family and everything else. But so I think what she was doing was the best way a villain can be portrayed, as far as they're the hero in their own minds, because as far as she was concerned, I'm just doing what I have to do to save these people. And those are always the most interesting villains. In my opinion, though, I really wish she kind of did come across as one note still. I think there's such a deep, interesting character there. And it wasn't portrayed as well as it could have been. Because I think what she was doing was 100% in line and made sense for her character arc. But I didn't feel like we got an arc. It just kind of like got stunted at the end, especially the way she's like, hey, we'll help you. And then she still chooses to essentially kill herself because she tries to take on the power of the two bands and can't do it. I would have liked for her to, and again, depends who's writing it, she might have lived. I would have liked to have seen where she went maybe in the future. Like, hey, so we do partner together. We help save your thing. We leave as like begrudging allies kind of thing. But we didn't really get that. And we don't really get that in Marvel movies. Obviously in comics, you can always bring them back. But
I was going to say, Marvel movies have this knack for killing off villains.
Yes. And I kind of feel like they did her wrong or did her dirty, because I would have liked, she was an interesting character. I wanted to see where she could go after this and not be quite as one note as they made her.
Well, and I kind of feel like a lot of the purpose of that too was, not only was she trying to save like her planet and her people, but also she had a greater desire for power so that she could, not only put her planet back together, but also then protect it for the foreseeable future. But like, obviously like that didn't work out in her favor because she was not strong enough to contain that power. But I also wonder if that was also the purpose of the plot being able to, you know, show that power actually that someone else can handle that power kind of thing. And so it was almost to show us like, actually, you know, here's what's going to happen once that power is now combined. And it also has its own consequences. And it was just kind of just to like move it along. And so like, yeah, you're right. Like in that way, it kind of did Dar-Ben a little dirty in the end. And so like, it is kind of unfortunate. I think it would have been fun to get a little bit more of her as well. But I don't know. It also just like leaves us with like a what's to come kind of thing for the rest of the Marvels.
Well, I also think the mid credit scene leaves a lot of what's to come too. So
sure, but I mean, even going back to Dar-Ben's story, before we get to the end of the movie, going back to Dar-Ben's story, this is one of, if not the shortest Marvel movies ever, and to be able to get 3 leads, a villain, and some side stories thrown in was it 97 minutes or 95 minutes? They did. I would say that Nia DaCosta did a good job with the movie, is telling the story, moving things along at a not a too slow a pace, not too quick of a pace, but she may not have filled in all of the gaps for certain things, like Dar-Ben's story, just to kind of flush her out for, like Adam was saying, give her just a little more, and not just here's the villain, here's her motivation. It makes sense. Moving on. But I think that for the time that we had, and you know what they were trying to do to move forward with Captain Marvel's story, Kamala's story, and to some degree Monica's story. With that, you know, there's some things that are just going to wind up in the cutting room floor. And unfortunately, that was probably one of them.
Well, and I think too, in the long run, like this is obviously fiction, obviously, and it doesn't always have to make sense, right? You know, like it doesn't always have to line up perfectly either. Like I was actually reading a review right before this too, just to kind of see what some other people were saying about the film, and I'm just like, they're just like, you know what, there's this and this, and like, you know, it doesn't really matter like why it is the way it is, but it's still like entertaining, and like you don't have to explain away every little thing, especially like when it comes to like the science of it all. You know what I mean? I put that in quotes because
it deserves to be.
Yeah. Because I mean, in Marvel land, it's science, but like in our real world life, it's like it's fantasy, you know? And so it's just like, anyways, I don't know. It's you kind of just have to just like take some of these movies too, not so like literally. And I think some people, I don't know, like, I didn't look into why people hated this movie so much, like why critics didn't like it.
Their neckbeards. So
because everyone I talked to loved it.
Here's the thing: we've seen these trends from Wonder Woman. We've seen it from the original Captain Marvel release. Like if it's got a female lead, a lot of people are going to boycott it and say that it's not a great movie and blah blah blah.
She's a Mary Sue.
Completely stupid about it.
There's no substance to that reasoning.
Unfortunately, there's not, which doesn't make any sense. But it's what we see every single time. Wonder Woman did a release that was a screening for just women, and fanboys were in complete uproar about it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, did you hear about that, Marlee?
No.
So it was like Alamo Drafthouse, and I know happened in Denver because I had a friend who went there. It wasn't even opening night. It was like the next Thursday, like at 6 p.m. And they did a screening where it was only for women, whether that was cis or trans. You could go if you were a woman, and all the guys on the internet in the world. Well, it's actually 11 people, but they're very loud, so it sounds like it's all the people. They threw this big fit and said, "Oh, that's sexist. It's horrible. It's this and that." I'm like, there was another screening at the exact same time you could have gone to. Like it was literally a different, like, one theater over. Like, in I don't know if
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
like,
Or you could have gone the week before when it on opening night and just watched it on opening night. Like, why did you have to wait and then throw a fit when you
Yeah.
were invited to a screening?
it was the same thing.
Haters gonna hate.
Yeah, and I believe Black
Thanks,
Panther
T
did it.
Swift.
Black Panther did it with African American audiences too, and it was the same thing. It's like, oh well, how come we can't have an all white screening them? Because you have all the power and money and everything else. Go away. Shoot. Like you don't need your own screening. Like you have those. It's called 6 p.m. on a Thursday.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just so stupid. I was like,
But it's not just Captain Marvel or the Marvels or even Wonder Woman. Barbie. I mean, look at the backlash that got for being from the neckbeards, as you put it, and people are just like, well, why do we need this movie? The fact that you ask that question, is the reason for that.
Yep.
For
That
why
is
this
true.
movie exists.
Completely
That is true.
uneducated, do not understand the world that we live in. Like,
Yeah. Why is Black Panther so black?
Oh goodness.
Oh, we're not going to go there. So,
but yeah, one of the pieces of hate that I was seeing on Reddit the most, but was tied into Secret Invasion. For Adam's sake, I won't mention characters.
you can. I don't care. It's too late for spoilers.
Okay.
In that case,
but
just kidding.
people were saying, well, where was Gaia? If all these light-based powers are being used, and Gaia happens to have these light-based powers that she's able to shoot out because she did some Captain Marvel moves, where was she? This is the biggest biggest letdown or hole that Marvel has missed. And it's just like, well, for one, she's laying low, so she's not using her powers. The switch only happens when they're using the powers at the same time. It's not one person's using the powers and another one. It's got to be timed just right.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's not going to happen. She's got like 40 other superhero powers. What makes you think she's just going to summon Captain Marvel all the time? Like,
Because
no,
that's the way it works. Yeah, I don't know. And I'd say that's not necessarily the biggest miss that Marvel's had. I mean, they've had some others, but there's some things that you question the continuity between Marvel movies and TV shows after Phase 3. We know that in phases 1 and 2, they tried to tie in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for example. The first one, and I was a religious Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. watcher, first
Same.
season especially.
Yes.
Yep.
And
Same.
it was a slow plotting process for the first 16 episodes. I'm like, every Tuesday I'm here. And then we get episode 17, and then we get Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and then we get episode 18, which picks up during that episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's just like, this is great. Unfortunately, the timeline for making a movie and the timeline for making a TV show don't mesh very well, which is why they couldn't keep bringing in characters from the movie portion of the MCU into the TV show and having it tie in properly. They did a very loose thing in the second season with Age of Ultron, and then there were references here and there. They brought in some adjacent characters because they couldn't bring in the leads because of timing and other scheduling issues. But where they had originally said it's all connected, where Jeff Loeb was like originally said it's all connected, they couldn't keep those connections as tight. They've done a little better with some of the shows coming out after, like when the Disney Plus series began with WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. They've dropped the ball a couple of times. After Eternals, giant head in the ocean, giant hand in the ocean. Nobody talks about it. Doesn't, out of sight, out of mind. And there've been a number of things that they haven't pulled together well. I'm hoping that that's something that they kind of tackle going forward, especially now that they're slowing down their release schedule and their production schedules for the movies to go, to basically to catch their breath, hopefully, and go, let's keep the movies as the big features and maybe have the TV shows as things that feed into some of the elements of the movies, maybe.
Well, two things I have to say about that is one, I still argue that the Eternals took place in a different dimension or universe. I don't think it actually took place in the 616. I could be wrong. This is my own personal little fan theory. And two, as much as it is, annoying that we have so many movies pushed back because of the strikes, the fact that we're only getting the one next year, the Deadpool 3, going back to your thing, Robert, about, hey, they can take a step back and see, hey, how do we want to do this? I think for the MCU, that was actually a blessing because I don't know so much that we're getting superhero fatigue as much as they're just pushing stuff too fast and we don't have a chance to recover before the next thing happen. And I'd like to see more of the series too. So that's me.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's a mix of that and a mix of just lack of storytelling from some areas. Like it definitely doesn't feel like the movies are as connected as they were in phase 1 and 2, right? And so when we're jumping into these ones, and we've got so many characters that just have disappeared at this point that we don't know what's going on with them or haven't heard any references about them,
like Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, yep.
That's a good example.
We see the after credits in that one where Wong's like, hey, we need you. And cool.
Have we seen him since?
Nothing's
No.
happening.
He's just on the on deck circle. He's up to bat next.
I mean, we've seen Wong since then.
Wongers.
Wongers.
Good guy.
That was so amazing. That's one of my favorite parts of that series.
Oh, same.
It's hilarious.
Well, sorry, Collin, you were still talking.
Everyone here's played the Spider-Man game, right?
Yeah.
I've not beaten it, but I played it, yes.
Xbox.
Have you seen a certain cameo, Adam?
No. You can say if you want to. This time of year, I don't have time for things.
Cameo.
So I've tried. I tried.
There was a note. What was it? I think it was one of the Miles missions, but it's him and Catwoman, right?
Black Cat.
This portal making device, and then at the end of it, it disappears, and there's a note from Wong that says, "Thanks for holding this for us. We've got it from here," or something like that.
Well, and they, because Black Cat stole it from the Sanctum Sanctorium. Yeah. Right there in New York. And so you don't go inside, but you're like outside, and you also are like doing like this like crazy portal jumping and stuff and trying to get it back from her. And then Wong, all of a sudden swoops in and is like,
that we got Wong.
Yeah,
in that.
No, and I did get that far. Like, with the little staff thing, she's like, stuff. I did get that far. So
it's pretty early on in the game. No, I think especially after the Marvels, I have a lot more, I guess you could say there's a brighter future, a more hope for the Marvels and for seeing more of that interconnectedness that we saw so much in the first 3 phases. Because at the very end, we need to talk about the end, but we're also gonna have to go back to my favorite scene of the movie. We're gonna talk about that in a minute, so we can't forget. Okay, Marlee's favorite scene. Okay, but we're gonna talk about it. But yes, stick a pin. But then at the end, more particularly with Kamala showing up to Kate Bishop's house and showing, kind of like hey, there's a team up. There's a future team up that is happening here with these young Avengers. And I am like so here for it because we've seen those two. And we've seen Ironheart and even Shuri. I don't know if she'll really be part of that because maybe she's not.
I don't know if she counts as young.
Yeah, that's what I'm meaning to. Not that she's old.
Kate points out that she's 23. So I mean, just throwing that out there.
And then we were talking about this after
we've seen
the movie.
Eli
Who
Bradley,
else is there?
Patriot. Yeah. We've seen America Chavez.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen Cassie Lang,
Yes.
and let's see,
Scar.
Patriot Stature, Harley Keener, who in some versions becomes Iron Lad.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Who did you
we've
say,
not
Colin?
seen. Pardon me.
Colin, you said
would what's his name? Scar be a part of it or no?
Scar?
Scar. They will probably
it's,
put him in instead of Braun,
Who's that again?
Hulk's son that showed up at the
Hulk's son.
end of She-Hulk
Oh.
with the
Oh,
bad
yeah.
hair, with the
Oh, yeah,
Avatar
yeah.
haircut.
Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
I think there's just too much diversity in this Young Avengers group. Like, where's the place for all the straight white guys? You know?
Oh my gosh. But yeah, so like just having that moment, even just in the mid-credit scene with her showing up to like, hey, Kate Bishop, sup, you know, like let's do a thing, you know, that just like I feel like it gives us some really good hope for the future of the MCU and what's to come. And hopefully I know we don't get any new movies next year, but like I hope they don't wait too long, because if we are going a young Avengers route, these actors are gonna only get older.
It'd be nice if they were still young.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what that exactly means, but I think it gives me hope for the future of the MCU. And then even the other credit scene,
which gives me hope for other things.
X-Men. That was crazy.
So it was interesting, and let's jump to that one also, because one of Monica's issues with Carol is Carol's disappearance from her family. And there was a family of three: Maria, Carol, and Maria's daughter Monica. And then Carol tells Monica in no uncertain terms, "I'll be back," and then disappears for 30 years. As far as Monica's concerned. Well, she didn't lie, but I mean, it's it's not like she just went to the corner to get some milk and came back. It's like it took 30 years.
She went and got cigarettes and never came back. So they never go.
But during that time, we know that Carol did come back long enough to see Maria before she died, while Monica was blipped away, and to take Goose with her back to space. And then Monica comes back to no one and has no support structure, nothing, nothing. And she has to deal with all of this. Her mom's gone. Aunt Carol's gone. The Flurkin's gone. What do I do now? Which we can then understand her frustration with just seeing Carol pop up out of nowhere and having to confront all of this at once, and she's not ready for it. So then we get to Marlee's scene where Monica saves the day by saving the multiverse, by fixing a hole in space-time and winding up not in Kansas anymore. She winds up, in fact, in upstate New York, in another universe, with a blue furry guy talking about her condition.
And there were a bunch of like metal X's on doors.
And there's a bunch of metal X's on the door.
So weird.
And then he mentions the thing for me was he mentions binary, and I'm like, oh, they went there. And then we see who binary is in this universe, and this universe is Maria Rambeau, which for Monica is just mom.
Yeah.
And we get the kind of that I know I've worked this through in my head so many times from Monica's perspective, and Maria's like, yeah, but what? Understandably, because there's
I'm your who?
Like, Mom, ma what? What? Who?
Mom? I don't have any kids.
So the fact that that Monica is having this moment because she now gets a chance to possibly say all the things she didn't get to say to her mother, to a version of her mother at least. And then we find out that Monica has taken Carol's place with the X-Men as binary, which happened in the comics. I'm sorry, Carol was with the X-Men as binary in the 160s of Uncanny X-Men. So that's a complete nod to longtime Uncanny X-Men fans. But we have Beast, voiced once again by Kelsey Grammer,
Mm-hmm.
which, everybody hears the voice and hears the music, and everybody's like, understandably, because, we've been waiting for mutants to show up in the MCU for the longest time.
Well, and like
now,
for reals too, not just like little teases like WandaVision
Yeah.
and Quicksilver.
Exactly.
That was like one of the worst betrayals.
That was the
It was
worst.
awful.
it was a wonderful turn, I thought, of just going, so we're going to have this nod
Betrayal.
and not say anything about it. It's just another day in Westview.
It's fine. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
But-
it definitely opens up things. Again, making it a hopefully brighter future for Marvel, the MCU, and what's to come. Like I feel like if anything, like people need to go watch this movie, obviously to enjoy the movie because it's quite enjoyable and there's some really
It's
fun
fun.
characters, good moments. But also for those two endings, the mid credit and end credit scene. Well,
Yeah.
are they both at mid credit?
No,
Just
one's
both mid.
mid, one's end of the title card credits, and then
Yeah.
just scrolling.
Yeah.
credits.
Okay, yeah, because that's right. There wasn't like an end credit scene.
Correct.
But anyway, you guys know what I mean.
But no, I mean, it's a fun movie. And I think that it has gotten a lot of negative attention from people who just don't want it to do well, for one, for the people who can't accept a strong female protagonist, let alone 3 in the same movie. And it's not just a woman, it's a woman of color, 2 women of color, one's just a teenager, all the things that give you a soup of, I don't like this, and throw it all together into one movie, and it's all the things that whoever wants to hate something can find something to hate.
Well, there's one thing in this movie that people should not hate, and that they should actually watch this movie because it's an amazing part, is the Flurkins.
Yes.
I thought
Yeah,
you were
wholeheartedly.
going to say was the musical.
No, I said that one. That was me.
Musical?
Because Alanda is great.
Oh no,
The
the musical,
Bollywood scene.
the musical planet where everyone sings.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, that was fun too. But back to the Flurkins. Back to the
That was fun
Flurkins.
too.
I'm gonna pull that pin out, and we're
You
gonna talk
mean-
about Marlee's
You mean
favorite
all
scene now.
these flirkins?
Yes. Okay, you guys. I'm a huge cat lady. I have 2 cats. I love cats. They're great. And so this movie, like, yeah, that whole scene where they're on the Saber station, and why did they need to get off the Saber station again? I don't even remember what was the reason why they needed to
Weren't
leave.
they being
Because all the-
sucked into the hole that was being made or something like that?
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm like, I was too focused on the Flurkins. I'm like, I don't know what the plot was. It was just so. But you see Goose, and she'd been eating all these things, and you're just like, what is Goose doing? And then
Why are you
as
eating so
soon-
much?
well, and as soon as they like were on the ship, because they're again like there's like all these like side things happening in this movie. And they're just like fun things too. And they're just like, well, there's like this like weird growth thing over here, and we're just trying to investigate it and figure out what's going on. And the whole time I'm like, those are baby Flurkins. Like, I know what this is. But then when they all started like hatching and showing up, and like that whole scene where they're like running around and trying to be like, hey, wait, we can't save all these people by fitting everyone into the escape pods because there's not enough room for the people. Well, and there's also like aliens. There's other species besides just humans on this space station. But they're like, we can't fit everybody in there. And so then they come up with this like idea that's like, well, wait, the Flurkins can eat them, ingest them. What is the proper term here? I don't know. But they can like suck them up, and like then all of a sudden now you only have to deal with like a tiny little kitten. And so then I just, oh my gosh, you guys, I was like cry laughing.
How
Oh,
do
yeah,
you
me too.
know
During
that
this
the flirkins are just gonna spit out all these other?
Well, they've
Human
seen them
beings.
do it. They've seen them do it though.
They've seen them do it, but like that doesn't mean it's 100% accurate.
They
Like,
needed to
we-
make a
we hate
decision in the
these
moment,
humans.
Colin. They did not have
it was
a
either
lot of
die in
time.
the space station or be eaten by flirkins and maybe die.
It's fine. It's fine.
It
So
was
we
Nick
get
Fury making a tough call.
We
Do
get all
you-
these little tiny harmless kittens running around, and oh my gosh, as they're just like swooping in all these people. And I love how like on the intercom overhead they're like
Just
having
let
the
them eat
announcement,
you.
do not resist, let the flurkins eat you. And then I love how they're just like trying to like, get the kittens inside the little escape pod. And it was just so wholesome.
It was herding cats.
Yeah. And it was just
Quite
like,
literally, yes.
yes. And it was just like, to me, it just like, it was very a wholesome moment. And it was honestly like very unexpected. I mean, we've never really seen anything like that in a Marvel movie before.
And going back to as absurd of all of this is, you now have Kamala's parents who are on the space station.
Yes, so they're there too.
Who've been brought up by Nick Fury to explain where their daughter is, and they're in the middle of all of this chaos, and they're just okay, we're gonna roll with this. And I love the fact they're just kind of like,
Right.
I don't understand, but I'm not going to question it. We're just going to go with it.
They're
And
just
they were
sitting there
fine
helping
with
and-
it.
Well, and I love
Like-
how like Kamala like picks up one of the Flurkin kittens and is like holding it and like aiming it at
Aiming it like a
people.
gun.
I was seriously dying. I was dying.
gosh.
It was so
It was a fun and ridiculous part of the movie that I think definitely broke the monotony of everything that we've seen in Phase 4, with all of the doom and gloom and strife that went on in Phase 4. It was I think, a much needed bit of just hilarity and complete absurdity to go.
Yeah.
Life in the what is it, the 199999 universe ain't all bad. It can be kind of funny at times.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like it was very needed. And it was great.
one of the heart-wrenching scenes was, after Rambo disappears and Marvel's off to regenerate that sun, is Kamala having to go back to Earth alone in that ship and then have to tell what happened, and like while she's still processing all these things. And that's not an easy thing for a high school student
It's
to
not
do.
easy for an adult,
Yeah.
let alone, high school kid.
Yeah.
But she bore the responsibility.
Yep.
And it's, if you want to take the Spider-Man route and say with great power comes great responsibility, she's shouldered that mantle in her own series. We saw her growing into the role of Miss Marvel organically then, and then now being thrust into the larger picture and seeing, things that she can't control, things that she can't do anything about, and having to accept the consequences of that. By the time that she has to do this, it's not something she wants to do by any stretch of the imagination, but she does it because she knows that she's the one who has to.
Yeah.
So, and again, kudos to all of the actors in this movie for bringing their characters to life in the way that they did. And honestly, during the Miss Marvel series, I kind of hated her mother for the first, literally for like the first 4 episodes, and then after they come back from Karachi, I'm like, okay, no, she's not all bad. She's a mom with a teenage daughter that has been secretive about what she's doing, and now she understands why, and she's like, okay, I'm supportive of you as your mother, but I'm also terrified of what you're doing. And I think that watching her in this movie, I just kind of came to appreciate her even more, because she's again terrified for, where's my daughter gone? Who are these people showing up who are these blue people? Why are there blue people in my house? Why is Nick Fury showing up looking for my daughter who just disappeared in the middle of the living room? And to go from that to just watching how, when she last saw Kamala before she took off with Carol and Monica, he's like, I be safe, and she just wants her kid to come home safely.
Yeah.
Like any parent really wants to, or anyone who loves somebody, just come home safe. And
and her parents have really realized what she's meant for.
Yeah.
at this
Mhm.
point too, which is
Yeah.
huge. Because before her parents were like, no, we're not
Yeah.
going to do this. This isn't how it is. And now they're like, we get it.
And they support her, the best that they can too, and by being her parents and being there as her parents, but also, like the support system, but also like fans too.
And
Yeah.
And I mean, it was great. I mean, if you want to look at a contrast for every other superhero movie where it's like, I've got to hide my powers from everybody. I can't tell anyone the secret, which she did for the longest time in her
Yeah.
series. It's nice to see that she has people that she could just talk to.
Yeah.
They might not
Mhm.
be able to relate to everything she tells them, but she can talk to her parents about, so I did this thing. And they can be, rightly terrified by, you went up against what, or you did what, or you went where. But at the end of the day, they can be proud of their child for, and you saved people, and you did this
Mhm.
thing, you survived, and helped somebody do something. So that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I do like that they've done with this, was show her parents as, we get it, we can't do anything about it, but we'll cope with it as best we can, and we'll help you cope with what you can't as best we can.
Yeah, for sure. No, I feel like, especially with such a short movie, we got so much out of it, right? Like there was so much like character development, as much as we could for these three women. And given, some context and the other shows and everything like that definitely helped. But it was nice to just like bring it all under one roof in one movie, and see all those connections made, but also be able to see more of their growth, especially Ms. Marvel, because where she again, like I feel like she is like one of the future pieces of the MCU, and so like we need to see more of her,
And it
especially
was
in these ways.
it was also, and I didn't know if anybody was going to bring this up or not, but one of the things we also saw towards the end of the movie, with Carol returning to Earth, setting, reestablishing a connection on Earth by moving into Maria and Monica's old home. And
Yeah.
and not just that, but Kamala being there to help and her family
Yeah.
being there to help with the move, and building that relationship and that bond a little more. And you can see that it's still, the wound of Monica being gone is raw for Carol, because she, it happened right in front of her face, and there's nothing she could do about it. And then to move back into where all of these memories were formed, and where Monica lived, where Maria lived, and that's her now base of operation, so to speak. And the fact that she's, you know, Kamala has now seen Carol as a person, and has accepted her as a person, and still wanting to kind of take her on as a mentor and to learn from her, but also as somebody that she can just kind of be like, oh, this is cool. What's that thing? What's this? Like when they were in the airplane, and just that scene between the two of them, that quiet scene at the end of like, okay, this is happening.
Mhm.
This has happened rather. Here's where we are. And just having a moment together of just accepting each other as, who they were, and what they've gone through. I thought was a nice touch. So again, I am going to give many kudos to Nia DaCosta for taking so many disparate elements and fusing them together into a fun movie that deserves to be seen by far more people than have seen it, and be given a much better shake than it got from everyone who hasn't seen it. Because it's a girl movie. It's a this, it's a that, it's a, oh, okay, just go see the movie.
Yes.
It's
Well, and
another Marvel movie. Oh, they're doing it again.
And it's not like Endgame where you have it. Sorry to say it, but like you do have that one like girl power scene in Endgame, right?
Yeah.
And it just felt so forced to be there.
A little bit,
The
yeah.
Marvels is not like that at all.
No,
Not at all.
no, and that's growth on so many different levels for Marvel.
Well, and I'll say, as someone who, again, sees a lot of movies, the fact that they could do all this, wrap it up, yeah, there may be a couple little things we could have had more of, but to do it in an hour and 40 minutes, like, I can't remember the last time there was any Marvel movie, and actually most movies in general, that was able to tell a story in such a short amount of time. So I was very happy with that. So
yeah. So yeah, there we have it. The Marvels. Go see it. If you have seen it, go see it again. If you want to talk about it, join us here at our Discord channel, discord.ageofgeek.com.
Or you could sing about it too. I know we didn't really talk about that whole scene, but we kind of Collin kind of touched on it a little bit. But
the part where the one guy starts like, "Oh, they only understand you if you're singing," and the guy starts talking. They're like, "Well, how does he know what we're saying?" Like, "Oh, he's bilingual."
He's bilingual.
That again had me rolling.
Gotcha.
So.
I loved that whole part. Like, I thought that was just like so interesting because, we. Again, like this was like a whole new planet. Like we'd never seen this before, and it was different. It wasn't just like alien creatures that have green skin or blue skin or what. It was like totally like a way out in left field that I don't like. No one was expecting that, and
Robert,
for Carol to be like,
is Landa in the comics?
I cannot remember if there's in whose run was it? I can't remember if it was Kelly Sue DeConnick's run or Kelly Thompson's run. There was a arc where Carol was about to be, I can't say forced into a marriage, was about to undertake an arranged marriage to save the planet, and someone else took her spot in it. So I can't remember what the name of the planet was in that comic or those comics, but that situation did arise. So it was a definite nod to that. And it may have been part of Kelly Sue's run, but I just can't remember exactly who it was and when it happened, but there was a nod to it at least. But it was also nice to see
Marvel Volume 8, number 9, back in November of 2014. Landa was a planet briefly visited by Leela Cheney when she was a kid, where she got engaged with Alanda's Prince Jan.
Wow, now I remember this. Yes.
Every inhabitant speaks in rhythms.
Yes. So yes, it does.
Thank you, MarvelFandom.com.
I'm on Goodreads trying to find it. So,
but no, like I said, it did appear briefly in the comics. I think that Lila was one who was actually originally supposed to be married off, and Carol was going to, but then somebody else again took that spot. But it was nice to see Carol taking on a responsibility to save a planet, and Monica and Kamala being like, "Yeah, but wait, you did what? When? What?
Say again."
Yeah, and the thing is, we see that all of these things have gone on that have kept Carol from coming home because she was afraid of failing and being perceived as having failed at certain things, which is why she didn't come back to help with the Skrull relocation. Or that portion of it. And that's why the Skrull colony that we saw earlier in the movie, that Dar-Ben then destroyed, why their leadership was skeptical about Carol showing up and helping the way that they were. So they tied, there were a lot of moving parts in this movie, and they tied, I think, most of them up well. They left a number of threads out there to be picked up on later or rewoven later, so to speak. And it's also going to be curious to see how the alternate universe in which we have X people, how that's woven in to the multiverse after the happenings with Loki.
I was saying, are they being woven together in the loom? I was kidding.
Oh, in the
everything is now. Yes,
the world tree. Yeah.
The world tree.
We could do I could do a whole series on just that one episode of Loki. So we won't go there right now.
We did that. That was our last episode here at Age of Geek. We talked all about Loki season 2.
That one
so much.
Amazing.
Very long.
Yeah, we could have kept going, but we had to end at some point.
And speaking of which, we should probably start putting a bow on this one. Like to once again thank Adam McDonald for joining us. Adam, let people know where they can find you, please.
Well, first of all, thanks to you again for having me on here. It's always fun hanging out with you guys. But yeah, you can find me over at Big Movie Mouth Off. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those kind of fun places, and then also on bigshinyrobot.com.
Excellent. And this is probably going to be, I believe, our last episode for the year. I believe we're taking a hiatus after this until early January.
Yeah. Winter break, baby.
Winter break. Winter break. Amen. But we will be back with more following the beginning of the year. But we do thank everybody for joining us. Does anybody have anything that they need to announce? Heroes of Hell's Kitchen?
Yeah, thank you, Robert. Yeah, I mean, Age of Geek might be on a bit of a winter break, but there's a few other podcasts.
Another podcast emerges
with Age of Geek Media that are still going, and one of those is Heroes of Hell's Kitchen. It's a recap series on Daredevil from Netflix. Well, now on Disney Plus. But we have been covering a few episodes at a time, and we, meaning Luke from the Nerd Dome podcast, we are co-hosting that podcast together, and we're actually getting close to wrapping up season 1 of Daredevil. So there's a lot of exciting things. We also tie in the comic book references and whatnot, and just talk about our favorite character, Daredevil, because why not? And you can find that. We are on Instagram at heroes_of_Hell's Kitchen. So check us out there.
Excellent. Collin, do you have anything?
I got nothing. Peace
Nothing
out,
but love.
beautiful people.
And the Discord. I mean, back to
Amazing.
the Discord. You know, I kind of interrupted you guys there before, but yeah, Collin, tell everyone about the Discord real quick. Again.
Oh, it's a Discord where people talk in our awesome community of epic proportions.
Where all geeks are welcome.
Where all geeks are welcome.
You're all
Discord.hgeek.com.
Please join us. You're all welcome.
Yay.
And with that, we will thank you for tuning in. And again, thank you, Adam.
Of course.
Thank you, Marlee and Collin. And thanks for tuning in to Age of Geek. See you next time.
Bye. I'll
Bye.
press the button.
Bye.
This has been an Age of Geek media production.